We're going back in time.
Yeah.
Not just to ancient Rome,
Okay.
but to 1895.
All right.
We've got a really fascinating source for you.
Okay.
It's an 1895 edition of Gate to Caesar.
Hmm.
It's this simplified version of Caesar's Gallic Wars, put together by William C. Collar.
Interesting.
He was an educator.
Okay.
He wanted to make Caesar accessible
Right.
for younger learners.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we're doing here,
That?
taking a potentially complex topic,
Yeah.
making it engaging,
Yeah.
hopefully fun.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
in this deep dive,
Okay.
we'll explore Caesar's world
Yeah.
through Collar's simplified text.
Interesting.
We'll uncover insights into Roman history,
All right.
military strategy,
Mm.
and even how Latin was taught over a century ago.
Huh.
Get ready for some aha moments, because Caesar's world
Yeah.
is full of surprises.
It is.
Did you know that he actually wrote a grammar book?
No, I didn't.
And his famous war commentaries?
Oh.
They were actually a clever form of political propaganda.
Oh, wow.
Let's start with Collar's preface.
Okay.
He lays out some pretty compelling reasons for simplifying Caesar.
I see.
He points out that Caesar's writing,
Uh-huh.
while brilliant,
Right.
was intended for adults.
Yeah.
It's full of complex sentence structures
Mm-hmm.
and a really compressed style.
Okay.
Even scholars debate the meanings of some passages.
Really?
So it makes you realize how challenging Latin must have been for students back then.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It was considered a cornerstone of education,
Uh-huh.
a real rite of passage.
Yeah.
So how does he go about simplifying Caesar?
Right.
Does he just dumb it down?
Whoa.
He sets out some clear principles.
Okay.
He wants to preserve the narrative flow of the Gallic Wars,
Right.
keep as much of Caesar's original wording as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and only make minimal changes to clarify the meaning.
Gotcha.
So
Wow.
why even bother?
Good question.
Why not just choose easier Latin texts to teach? Well, that's where Caesar's enduring influence comes in,
Uh-huh.
even today.
Yeah.
The Gallic Wars provide invaluable insights into Roman military history,
Right.
strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and politics.
I see.
Collar recognized this
Okay.
and wanted to make these texts accessible
Yeah.
to a wider audience,
Mm.
particularly younger learners.
Of course.
It's like he's saying,
Yeah.
look, Caesar's important,
Yeah.
even if he is a tough nut to crack.
He is.
But how do you crack that nut?
Exactly.
What was Collar's secret weapon?
Mm-hmm.
One of his key strategies was vocabulary building.
Vocabulary building.
He believed that memorizing isolated words was inefficient
Uh-huh.
and advocated for learning words in groups
Okay.
based on their shared meanings
Mm-hmm.
or etymological roots,
Etymological roots.
those common origins of words.
I see.
So instead of just throwing a list of random words at students,
Yeah.
he's saying,
Right.
hey,
Mm.
look at how these words are connected.
That makes sense.
That sounds a lot more engaging.
It does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about fostering deeper understanding.
Yes.
Collar even includes exercises that prompt students to find examples of these words
Okay.
in Caesar's text,
Mm-hmm.
connecting grammar to actual usage.
Interesting.
That makes so much sense.
It does.
You're not just learning grammar in a vacuum.
Right.
You're seeing how it works
Mm-hmm.
in the real world
Right.
of Caesar's conquests.
Okay.
But let's not forget the heart of this deep dive,
Yeah.
the Gallic Wars themselves.
Of course.
We can't get too lost in the grammar weeds.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about those epic battles.
All right.
Caesar's march across Gaul.
Yeah.
It all started in 58 BC.
58 BC.
Right. Caesar, already a powerful figure in Roman politics,
Mm-hmm.
set his sights on Gaul.
Okay.
It was a land of diverse tribes,
Uh-huh.
ripe for conquest.
Yeah.
He was driven by ambition,
Right.
a desire for military glory.
Of course.
And let's be honest,
Yeah.
a good dose of Roman imperialism.
Uh-huh.
So this wasn't exactly a peaceful diplomatic mission.
Not really.
The Gallic Wars are a chronicle of brutal conflicts.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about expanding Roman territory.
Right.
It was also about Caesar solidifying his power
Mm-hmm.
and prestige
Yeah.
back in Rome.
Okay.
Remember,
Uh-huh.
these commentaries were his way of communicating with the Roman people,
Yeah.
shaping public opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately
Yes.
furthering his own ambitions.
Interesting.
So it's not just a history book, it's almost like a political campaign.
Exactly.
And to understand Caesar's motivations,
Mm-hmm.
we need to understand the concept of virtus, a
Virtus.
core Roman value that emphasized courage,
Mm-hmm.
manliness,
Okay.
and military success
Interesting.
for a Roman general like Caesar.
Right.
Military achievements were the ultimate proof of Virtus.
I see.
It's like a window into the Roman mindset, their values,
Yeah.
their beliefs about war
Okay.
and conquest.
Right. And Caesar's commentaries were incredibly effective.
Oh, yeah?
He presented himself as a brilliant strategist,
Right.
a courageous leader, and a defender of Roman interests.
He knew how to spin a good story, that's for sure.
He did.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Caesar, was it?
Not exactly.
I mean, he was facing some pretty fierce opponents in Gaul.
Absolutely.
The Gallic tribes were no pushovers.
They were not.
They were skilled warriors,
Right.
fiercely independent,
Mm-hmm.
and determined to resist Roman rule.
Yeah.
Take the Belgae, for example.
The Belgae.
Caesar describes them as the bravest of all the Gallic tribes,
Interesting.
known for their ferocity in battle.
Okay.
I remember reading about the Nervii, too.
The Nervii.
They almost defeated Caesar at the Battle of Sabis.
Oh, wow.
It was a close call, even for the mighty Roman army.
It was.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Nervii were known for their surprise attacks
Uh-huh.
and guerrilla tactics.
I see.
They caught Caesar off guard. And for a moment, it seemed like the Roman advance might be halted.
Really?
But Caesar, ever the strategist,
Yeah.
rallied his troops,
Mm-hmm.
adapted his tactics,
Yep.
and ultimately emerged victorious.
Of course.
That must have been an intense moment.
It was.
Caesar's description is quite vivid.
Uh-huh.
He talks about the Nervii charging with such ferocity
Yeah.
that they broke through the Roman lines,
Wow.
creating a moment of sheer panic.
I see.
It's a reminder that even the best laid plans
Mm.
can go awry in the heat of battle.
Well, for sure.
And it makes you realize that these weren't just abstract military maneuvers.
Right.
These are real people
Yeah.
fighting for their lives,
Uh-huh.
their homes, their way of life.
Exactly.
And on the Roman side, you have these soldiers,
Right.
often far from home,
Mm-hmm.
facing danger and hardship.
Yeah.
Even in his concise prose,
Okay.
Caesar reveals glimpses
Yeah.
into the realities of life in a Roman camp.
Interesting.
What was it like to be a regular soldier in Caesar's army? What was it, all drills and discipline?
Discipline was certainly paramount.
Or were there moments of camaraderie,
Sure.
even humor?
Well, Caesar doesn't dwell on those details,
Okay.
but we can glean some insights from his text.
Yeah, so
For example, he mentions the presence of women in the camp.
women.
Wives,
Really?
family members,
Interesting.
and what were known as camp followers.
Wait, there were women in the Roman camps?
There were.
What were their roles?
Their roles were primarily domestic.
Okay.
They provided support services,
Uh-huh.
mended clothes,
Mm.
prepared food,
Right.
and helped maintain a semblance of normalcy
Yeah.
in the harsh conditions of a military campaign.
So even in the midst of war,
Yeah.
there was a sense of community,
Yeah.
of family.
Mm-hmm.
It humanizes the whole experience.
It does.
And it reminds us that these massive historical events
Right.
were ultimately driven by individual choices,
Yeah.
actions, and sacrifices.
Right.
Caesar might have been the mastermind behind the Gallic Wars,
He was.
but it was the soldiers,
Yeah.
both men and women,
Mhm.
who carried out his orders
Right.
and ultimately determined the outcome of these campaigns.
Precisely. Now, going back to Caesar's writing,
Okay.
it's fascinating how even his seemingly simple descriptions of battles can reveal a lot about Roman military strategy and tactics.
I'm all ears.
Okay.
Give me a strategy lesson straight from Caesar himself.
We'll take the siege of Bibrax, for example.
The siege of Bibrax.
Caesar describes how he carefully positioned his troops,
Okay.
constructed siege works,
Mm.
and used battering rams to breach the enemy's defenses.
Wow.
He also highlights the importance of maintaining supply lines
Right.
and protecting his flanks from attack.
It's like a masterclass in siege warfare.
Exactly.
And notice how Caesar emphasizes the discipline
Yeah.
and determination of his soldiers.
Mm.
Even in the face of setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
he's showcasing the superiority
Mm.
of Roman training and tactics. He was a brilliant propagandist, that's for sure.
It was.
But his tactics weren't always foolproof, right?
That's true.
Remember the battle against the Neri we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Caesar's cavalry was initially ineffective
Right.
because of the dense hedges
Mm-hmm.
and difficult terrain.
I see.
So even the mighty Roman army had its weaknesses.
They did.
They had to adapt to the unique conditions of Gaul,
Right.
the terrain,
Uh-huh.
the weather,
Mm-hmm.
the fighting styles of their opponents.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about brute force.
Yeah.
It was about strategy,
Right.
adaptability,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a bit of luck
That's right.
that makes it all the more impressive
It does.
that Caesar was ultimately successful.
Yeah.
He faced some serious challenges.
He did. And his commentaries, even with their inherent bias, offer a fascinating glimpse into the complexities of ancient warfare, Roman military organization, and the clash of cultures that defined this era.
It's like we're stepping back in time, seeing the world through Caesar's eyes.
Yes.
Even if those eyes were sometimes looking out for his own interests.
Right. Exactly.
Speaking of language, we haven't forgotten about Cæsar's unique approach to teaching Latin.
Of course not.
It's time to dive back into those vocabulary lists.
All right.
So we've got these vocabulary lists that Cæsar put together.
Yeah.
What makes them so special? Are they just your average Latin to English translations?
Not quite.
Cæsar's approach is all about connecting the dots.
Okay.
He groups words not just by their definition, but by their shared etymological roots.
Right.
Remember, etymology is the study of the origin of words and how their meanings evolve over time.
Exactly.
So he's not just giving you the translation.
Yeah.
He's showing you where the word comes from.
Right.
It's family history, so to speak.
I like that.
For example, he might have a cluster of words,
Yeah.
all stemming from the Latin root duc, which means to lead.
Okay.
You'll see how it branches out into a deuce.
A deuce.
The deuce. And even duke. Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
I never realized how many English words have Latin roots.
There's a lot.
It's like a secret code waiting to be cracked.
That's a great way to put it.
That's exactly what Cæsar wanted to do.
Yeah.
To empower students to decode the meaning of unfamiliar words by recognizing their familiar roots.
Right.
It's a much more engaging and effective way of learning vocabulary.
It is.
Instead of memorizing isolated words, you're understanding the underlying logic and structure of the language.
That's right.
It's like having a key to unlock the secrets of language.
I like that.
And it makes you realize how interconnected languages are.
It does.
And how they've influenced each other over centuries.
Absolutely.
That's right. And this approach has implications
far
beyond learning Latin. It can help you understand English vocabulary better, too.
Absolutely.
Recognizing those Latin roots can give you clues to the meaning of unfamiliar words.
Oh, for sure.
It's like having a superpower, the ability to decipher words.
Right.
I wish I had learned Latin this way.
I know, me too.
It would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Cæsar was clearly ahead of his time in terms of his pedagogical approach.
He was.
He recognized the importance of making learning active and engaging.
Yes.
And he understood the power of etymology to unlock the mysteries of language.
It's amazing.
So we've journeyed through ancient Gaul with Caesar, explored the intricacies of Roman military strategy, and even taken a fascinating detour into the world of 19th century pedagogy.
A lot of ground covered.
It's been a journey through time and language.
It has.
And it highlights how even a seemingly simple textbook like Gate to Caesar can open up a wealth of historical and linguistic insights. It's amazing to think that these stories from ancient Rome, filtered through the lens of a 19th century educator, can still resonate with us today.
They do.
They speak to timeless themes of ambition, power, the clash of cultures,
of course,
and the enduring power of language.
The power of language.
And Cæsar's work reminds us that learning, even about ancient subjects, can be an engaging and even transformative experience.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If this deep dive has sparked your interest, I encourage you to explore further.
Yeah.
Read Caesar's Gallic Wars for yourself, and maybe even check out Cæsar's edition.
Okay.
You might be surprised at how relevant these ancient stories still feel today.
Oh, for sure.
Who knows, you might even start a Caesar-themed podcast. Until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah.
And happy learning.
Happy learning.
And remember, Veni, Vidi, Vici.
Veni, Vidi, Vici.
We came, we saw, we learned.
We did